Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a monumental shift happening right now in our educational infrastructure. Look, we can forget the hype around basic chatbots and simple text generators. We are moving way beyond that. Today, we're looking at the rise of Agentic AI. These are high-production, high-impact intelligence systems. So how is this fundamentally rewriting the rules for how educational support is delivered, managed, and scaled? Well, let's find out.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The AI education shift. 2. Problem, burnout and inequity. 3. Solution, agentic AI tutors. 4. Socratic scaffolding. 5. Risks, ethics, privacy, and bias. And finally, 6. Conclusion, a new era. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The AI education shift, moving beyond the chatbot.
To really grasp this shift, we've got to look at the underlying architecture. Standard generative AI is, at its core, reactive. It waits for your prompt, spits out an answer, and then basically goes back to sleep. It doesn't have a persistent memory or a proactive agenda. But agentic AI, it's a totally different ballgame. Think of it less like a passive calculator and way more like a relentless, autonomous assistant. You give it a specific objective, say helping a student master complex fractions, and it actively navigates toward that goal over time. It monitors the situation, chooses strategic actions, uses external tools, and pursues the objective entirely on its own, all under strict human-defined constraints.
Section 2. Problem, burnout and inequity, the dual crises. So why do we even need this? Well, we're facing a systemic operational bottleneck. The first crisis is teacher burnout. Just consider the reality of modern teaching for a second. Educators are routinely spending 45 to 90 agonizing minutes manually drafting just a single, standards-aligned lesson plan. Now multiply that burden across a whole curriculum, multiple subjects, and different student reading levels. The result? It's a complete operational failure. We've got brilliant educators buried in late-night paperwork instead of doing the direct, inspirational mentorship they actually train for. The structural load is just totally unsustainable. And then there's the second crisis, which hits the students directly. It triggers this phenomenon known as metacognitive laziness. Actually, think about what happens when we just hand students standard, unconstrained AI. A recent randomized controlled trial showed a deeply concerning trend. Students using basic AI just to get direct answers experienced a 17% drop in subsequent exam scores compared to the control group. A 17% drop. The unconstrained AI essentially becomes a cognitive crutch. Sure, they get the answer instantly, but the crucial mechanism of learning, that struggle of actual thinking and problem-solving, is bypassed entirely. It's like a muscle. If the AI does all the heavy lifting, the student's cognitive skills just start to atrophy. Section 3. Solution, agentic AI tutors, the proactive actors. So to combat these intertwined crises, the educational sector is turning to intelligent tutoring systems powered by agentic AI. And the operational impact here is honestly staggering. Teachers who integrate these tools into their weekly workflows are saving an average of 5.9 hours per week. Think about that for a second. That's the equivalent of getting almost 6 full work weeks back every single school year. By automating that execution layer, drafting foundational lesson plans, generating data reports, creating reading materials, educators completely reclaim their time. They get those hours back for the deeply human, high-value relational work that no algorithm is ever going to replicate.
How does this system actually pull off that kind of efficiency? It runs on a continuous execution loop with 3 distinct phases: act, observe, adjust. Instead of just sitting there waiting for micro-prompts, these systems take an initial action, meticulously observe the real-world result, update their internal logic, and then adjust their next move. It is this relentless, autonomous cycle of telemetry that keeps recalibrating until the task is perfectly optimized.
What we're witnessing here is a massive paradigm shift. We are moving from merely using tools to managing intelligent actors. And because of this, the human role in education is radically elevated. Instead of executing every tedious microstep, the educator steps up as a strategic director. You set the overarching roles, you define the operational guardrails, and you review the final outcomes. You're no longer just managing a chat window, right? You're orchestrating a highly capable process that completely scales your teaching capacity.
Section 4. Solution, Socratic scaffolding architecture.
Let's actually take a look under the hood at the architecture of an intelligent tutoring system. It's pretty fascinating. It relies on the real-time coordination of 3 distinct neural models. First, the domain model holds the expert subject knowledge, the facts and the syllabus. Then, the learner model actively tracks the student's current cognitive state, mapping their strength and pinpointing exactly where they're getting confused. Finally, the tutor model acts as the pedagogical engine. It decides exactly when and how to intervene. Together, they aren't just a static database, they function as a highly interactive virtual agent that adapts fluidly to the student. Now, the definitive difference between standard AI and an agentic tutor all comes down to constraints. When an AI is allowed to just spit out a direct final answer, you get that metacognitive passivity, which, remember, drives that 17% drop in exam performance. But when we architect the AI with strict constraints to use Socratic questioning, providing only targeted hints and step-by-step guidance, we completely change the game. We force the student to actively process the material. Skill acquisition becomes active, and exam performance isn't just maintained, it's accelerated. And the real-world results of this Socratic scaffolding approach are absolutely wild. During specialized practice sessions, students guided by this constraint-based method experienced a staggering 127% performance boost compared to a standard control group. Just let that sink in for a moment. Because the AI acts as a true tutor, guiding and hinting rather than just solving it for them, students build incredibly robust problem-solving skills that translate directly into massive academic gains. Beyond just raw test scores, this personalized framework has been shown to boost overall student engagement rates by up to 60%. Why such a huge jump? Well, it creates an environment of absolute psychological safety. The system lets students make mistakes, ask the dumb questions, and learn entirely at their own pace, completely free from the fear of peer judgment or a ticking classroom clock.
Section 5. Risks, ethics, privacy, bias, the socio-technical guardrails.
Of course, deploying this kind of technology at an institutional scale brings up some serious socio-technical hurdles that we have to evaluate impartially. First, there's bias. Algorithmic models can inadvertently mirror historical prejudices if they're trained on narrow datasets. Second, privacy. Regulatory compliance with foundational laws like FERPA and COPPA is definitely lagging behind the software right now. Third, the digital divide. There's a real risk where well-funded districts get premium AI infrastructures, while underfunded districts just fall further behind. And finally, dehumanization. We have to ensure automated tutoring complements rather than completely replaces human peer interaction. Consider this specific operational vulnerability for a second. 42% of districts currently deploying AI tools completely lack formalized data processing agreements. Agentic AI isn't just grading multiple choice papers, it's capturing highly granular behavioral profiles. It tracks how many seconds a student hesitates, their frustration levels, their exact conceptual gaps. Without strict, comprehensive data governance protocols, institutions are exposing massive amounts of sensitive telemetry to totally unnecessary privacy risks. Section 6. Conclusion. A new era of human-AI co-agency.
AI should enhance human teaching, not replace it. That right there is the definitive benchmark for success. Agentic AI exists purely to absorb the execution layer of learning, the repetitive lesson planning, the data tracking, the routine grading. By offloading these tedious tasks, we systematically elevate our educators. We free them up to operate at the highest level, the judgment layer. This lets them focus entirely on advanced mentorship, strategic reasoning, and genuine human connection.
To cross this technological threshold successfully, modern educational infrastructure requires a highly deliberate balance. We've got to pair this immense technical capability with equally robust ethical governance. That means implementing design frameworks that prioritize universal accessibility and building data structures that are transparent and secure. True innovation here means our operational standards absolutely must keep pace with our software capabilities. Which leaves us with a critical, strategic question to ponder. The underlying technology to revolutionize the classroom is already here and operational. The choice now is entirely about how we deploy it. Will we use agentic AI just to optimize the administrative tasks of our existing flawed systems? Or will we harness this architecture to truly and fundamentally empower every single learner? Thank you for joining this explainer.